The latest U.S. inflation report showed consumer prices ticking up slightly more than expected in September. The Labor Department's Consumer Price Index, released Thursday, showed consumer prices rising 0.2% last month. That's marginally higher than what economists polled by Reuters had expected. But the annual inflation rate was 2.4%, the lowest it's been in more than 3.5 years. That's likely to keep the Federal Reserve on track to cut interest rates again next month. The Fed had hiked rates in 2022 and 2023 to bring down decades-high inflation, which had peaked at 9.1%. With prices cooling, the Fed has shifted its focus to maintaining a strong labor market. Its outsized half-point rate cut last month was a reflection of that. But minutes of the Fed's September meeting, released this week, showed policymakers have not committed to any set pace of future rate cuts. Financial markets on Thursday saw a roughly 75% chance of a quarter-point rate cut at the Fed's November policy meeting, according to the CME Group's FedWatch tool.
The UN peacekeeping mission in Lebanon says Israeli forces fired on its positions on Wednesday and Thursday. The United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, or UNIFIL, says 2 of its peacekeepers were injured when an Israeli tank fired at its main headquarters in Naqoura. Israel has been pursuing a widening offensive against Hezbollah in that area. A UN source said there were no casualties in 2 other incidents. UNIFIL spokesperson Andrea Tenenti.
This is highly concerning, not only because peacekeepers are there, but because this was done by, most probably a deliberate attack against our troops, which is a violation or a grave violation of international humanitarian law.
Italy has protested to Israel over the incident. Its defense minister called it illegal and a possible war crime.
We asked for the reason why these shots were fired, and we expected to know them officially. The ambassador was not able to provide us with explanations.
Israel has warned Lebanese civilians not to return to homes in the south as it presses on with its assault. On Thursday night, Israeli strikes on central Beirut killed several people and wounded dozens of others, Lebanon's health ministry said. A security source said at least 1 senior Hezbollah figure was targeted in the attacks.
Taiwan President Lai Ching-te used a keynote speech to strike both hard and conciliatory tones toward China on Thursday. Lai took office in May and is detested by Beijing, which calls him a separatist. Outside the presidential office in Taipei, he said China had no right to represent Taiwan, but also tried to offer some form of cooperation on issues like climate change. Lai used Taiwan's formal name, the Republic of China, whereas China's formal name is the People's Republic of China.
The Republic of China has already put down roots in Taiwan, Penghu, Kinmen, and Matsu, and it is not subordinate to the People's Republic of China. On this land, democracy and freedom are growing and thriving. The People's Republic of China has no right to represent Taiwan.
China sees Taiwan, which is run democratically, as its own territory, but Lai and his government disagree. He says only the people of Taiwan can decide their future. On Thursday, he also says that his government and Beijing should work together to address climate change, fight infectious disease, and maintain regional security. China did not immediately respond to his comments. However, earlier this week, Beijing accused Lai of increasing tensions. Taiwan's defense ministry said on Wednesday that China carried out another joint combat readiness patrol around the island, which Taipei calls regular military harassment. The US said on Wednesday that China has no reason to use Lai's speech as an excuse for military pressure. Lai says he has repeatedly suggested talks with Beijing, but been turned down.
Wildlife populations globally have dropped nearly 75% in the last 50 years. That's according to the World Wildlife Fund's latest Living Planet report, which called it a catastrophic decline. Researchers at the Zoological Society of London compiled the data. Robin Freeman is its head of indicators and assessments.
So people will see the numbers and potentially be alarmed, and I think it should be alarmed.
Habitat loss and degradation, mainly triggered by human food systems, are the leading threats to global wildlife populations, followed by overexploitation, invasive species, and disease. The steepest declines were in Latin America, the Caribbean, Africa, and Asia Pacific.
The combination of climate change, habitat loss, and biodiversity loss are things that we need to get on top of because they're mixed up problems that need to be dealt with together.
But the report says that while the situation is desperate, we have not reached a point of no return. It warns that a massive collective effort will be needed over the next 5 years to tackle the dual climate and nature crises.
I think the Living Planet Index, as one of the statistics of biodiversity that we like to talk about, should be seen as a warning. We should be able to do something about these systems to allow them to recover. And that means doing just personal stuff, but also encouraging our governments to do stuff collectively.
As election authorities tally the votes from Mozambique's national election, another count is underway. Civil society monitors are compiling a parallel tally to try to detect possible signs of fraud. The ruling Frelimo party is widely expected to extend its 49 years in power after the Southern African country voted on Wednesday. Frelimo candidate Daniel Chapo is seen as the frontrunner. His party has been constantly accused of rigging elections, which it denies. To check that, staff from the Observer Mission More Integrity are uploading pictures of handwritten results sheets from polling stations sent in by their observers. An app they created then pulls the data and crunches the numbers. Analgencio Macamo is a data analyst for the group.
This is very important. First, historically speaking, the electoral process in Mozambique is characterized by fraud and electoral violence, among other things. So the Mozambican electoral process is not free, fair, and transparent.
Some observer missions noted issues with preliminary vote counting that took place overnight. Teresa Xavier, a representative from the Observer Mission Peace Room, said at least 210 polling stations denied journalists and observers access to witness counting. Official results normally take around 2 weeks to be announced by the Electoral Commission. Past elections have shown significant discrepancies between the official and parallel counts. Maputo resident Antonio Dimas said he's skeptical about the process.
I think that nothing is going to change, and they're promising this and that, and things stay the same, as always.
TikTok is laying off hundreds of employees from its global workforce. The social media giant said Friday it's part of a shift towards a greater use of AI in content moderation. Malaysia is particularly hard hit, as two sources told Reuters more than 700 jobs were slashed in the country. Though ByteDance-owned TikTok later said fewer than 500 employees in Malaysia were affected. The employees were mostly involved in the firm's content moderation operations. TikTok employs a mix of automated detection and human moderators to review content posted on the site. A source said the tech firm also plans more cost reductions next month as it looks to consolidate some of its regional operations. TikTok said it expects to invest $2 billion globally in trust and safety this year and will continue to improve efficiency. It further added 80% of content violating guidelines was now removed by automated technologies.